What's up, everybody? It's Thursday, January 15th, 2026. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast, where we have clear eyes and full hearts. I am not Marcus Grant, but I'm trying my best to host the show as MG does. But joining us today, I'm Michael Florio. This is the one and only LaQuan Jones, and then we are joined by a very special guest. You might remember him from our August show where he gave us some great calls. It is the one and only Scott Porter. Scott, thank you for joining us again.
What's up, y'all? It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
So we spoke to you before the season started. Now post-fantasy season. Good year?
Great year, yeah.
Okay.
Made the playoffs in 4 out of 6, moneyed in 3 out of 6, and won 1. So, the hit rate's not too bad.
Okay. I mean, Look, man, baller, let's go. But I need some more takes, man, because look, before the season started, my guy was hitting on these takes where I'm like watching this back. I'm on my couch. I'm like, this guy is a magician, man. Like, how did he call this? How did he see this coming? But we got to go.
We went back and we found the takes from the August show. We are going to revisit them. That was how we were going to start the show. But then late last night, something like around midnight Eastern, we get a bomb. The first coaching domino has fallen. John Harbaugh is going to continue coaching in the NFL, but this time he is going to be with the New York Giants, and reports are that Todd Monken, who has been the OC with him in Baltimore, is going to be coming up with him. Scott, I'll start with you. You said that because we were talking before the show, and you were like, yeah, Jackson Dart and all these pieces, but that's not what you think brought him to New York.
No, it's the front four. I think that is the most exciting thing about this Giants team. I think they have showed over the season that they can really get after a quarterback. There are some weaknesses on the back end. They've got to figure out their linebacker and core. Yes, they have some tools on offense, but Harbaugh has made it work on offense many different ways. Yeah. Defense is where it's at for him. And I think, man, it's really going to be hard going forward with that front four to find a better front four.
Yeah.
For me, Seattle, of course, fantastic. But man, the Giants, if they grow up a little bit and they get some help on the back end, that front four can be nasty. And with Harbaugh, you never know. That defense could be really scary.
Yeah, I could see him elevating that line. Like, they could be disgusting. The talent's already there. These guys are young. They're hungry. They're getting after it. I think he comes in, be the foundation and culture of that whole entire locker room, where we've seen him elevate the Ravens into being whatever he says is in stone, like they believe in his message. So I think that's what the Giants have been chasing these last couple of years, is somebody to come in and change the entire culture and snap that mind of like, hey, we're winning. And then if he brings his guy like Todd Monken, I mean, Jackson Dart, man, we just seen Todd Monken bring out the absolute best out of Lamar Jackson. Like, if we can get that in year 2 for Dart, man, I don't see how he's not a top 5 fantasy quarterback, man.
Yeah, I for what you were saying, Scott, I thought the Giants could have been a surprise team this year because of that front four and the talent they had on defense. It didn't work, but it's still there. And then this past season, we learned that they have a lot of talent on. We knew Malik Neighbors coming in, but Jackson Dart showed that he is a quarterback who belongs in this league. Hopefully, Cam Scatterboo can get back to where he was pre-injury, but he showed it. And Todd Monken, every year he was in the Baltimore, they finished top 2 in rushing yards. We spun it to the Giants. Do you guys have any concerns now about Lamar and the Ravens offense with the whole new play caller? I know we don't know who it is as of today, but yeah, it's a little concerning in my opinion.
Scott, take it away. I'm just lost for words, man. I don't know what Baltimore looks like without a John Harbaugh. Like, it just feels like it's a weird NFL right now that we're living in with no Harbaugh.
It's an exciting NFL that we're living in. I mean, there are so many prognosticators out there saying, oh, this is going to be the domino that falls, that finally, puts the nail in the coffin for the whatever, blah, 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 this and that. Listen, Lamar Jackson didn't really change the way he played too much, even with Harbaugh, even with Monken. I mean, he's still getting outside the pocket. We saw that there was a nagging injuries this year. He wasn't quite himself, wasn't quite able to get outside the pocket. But the cool thing about Baltimore over the years is they've won with pocket passers. They've won with Lamar. They've won multiple different ways. I think that organization itself still has enough of an identity that I don't worry too much about them. I'm interested to see. I really wanted, I would have loved to have seen all of a sudden Mike Tomlin goes to Pittsburgh.
That's what I was
Stefanski goes to, goes to Baltimore, Stefanski goes to Pittsburgh. Everybody switches
around,
someone goes to Cleveland, and it's all three coaches still just in the same area. But I think Baltimore knows as an organization what it is. Yeah. I think Lamar Jackson knows who he is. And I think really it's going to be the fit of who is the new coach with Lamar and how did they gel. I think that offense still is missing weapons, still needs some help. Yeah. But traditionally they draft really well. And, if that defense can keep them in games next year, I don't know what happens with Derrick Henry. Is he sticking around? Has he got one last go? I think they're still going to be all right, though.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they're the number one available job right now because anyone who comes in, you get Lamar, two-time, could have been three-time MVP in Lamar Jackson. So that we'll talk about that plenty this offseason, but let's get to the real fun now of it. Let's revisit Scott's takes from the summer. And Scott, I want to start with the one, look, there's a lot of good calls on here. The one I think was the biggest and season defining, and I was with you on it, but the credit goes to you here. Trey McBride over Brock Bowers. And not only were you saying to take McBride over Bowers, you were fading Brock Bowers.
I was, and it was because of his price. It was because of uncertainty, new quarterback. Gino wasn't necessarily a guy who really heavily relied on tight ends. Not that they necessarily had one guy in Seattle during his tenure there. It was just for me what I knew I was going to get out of Trey McBride versus the uncertainty of the second year of Bowers, who has just so much talent. And next year, I may be flipping them. I didn't expect Jacoby Brissett to come in and go on a rocket ship, on a pace for 700 attempts over an NFL season. I mean, if you think about it, that's unsustainable. Yeah. So next year, what am I going to do with McBride? But this year, I knew. And I gambled on taking that onesie position early. I had Trey McBride in 3 different leagues, and I had him because I was willing to take that price tag, in the second, early third. Even in a 14-teamer, I took him at 15. I took him at the beginning of the second round in a 14-team keeper league, and I didn't even bat an eye because I knew I was going to have such a strong one position dominance over the rest of the league. Yeah. I really felt like this was going to be his year. And the main reason for that, on top of the offense needing to get the ball in the air a ton, was touchdown regression. It's something we'd have to look at. Last year, so much was made of him only getting the end zone twice, and one of it was a handoff. So how is he going to react to that? Yeah. And he was my tight end one just based on that touchdown regression. Then you saw his receptions go up as well as the touchdowns, and you get this really incredible season from him. So I'm glad it all worked out. Won me a chip, won me in a couple of leagues, and the Bowers of it all, unfortunate injury. Who knows where he ends up if he's there all year long. He showed us with one massive game that he still can just take over an entire week.
It was massive, and then it was no in between. It was all floor or ceiling with Bowers. Yeah. You talk about the position advantage. McBride scored over 100 points more than any other tight end. The biggest gap by far, more double than any other positional gap. But look, it's January. We're not going to hold you guys to this right now. But last year, McBride was the second quarterback off the board. I know you said you took him 15th overall, but ADP-wise, he was late second, early third. Quan, I'll start with you. Next year, where are you comfortable taking McBride? Because he's going to be the tight end one. I think we all agree on that.
Tight end one, we could lock that in, right? My uncertainty is the quarterback position, right? Because I think with the rumors of the fantasy streets boogeyman looming around the interviews with the Cardinals, I don't know what this dynamic of this Cardinals offense is going to be. So ADP-wise, I could still see him going in that early second round because people are going to live and remember what he just did last season with Jacoby Brissett. So I think the plan is, right, get a new quarterback in there. Kyler Murray's out of the equation, right? Let's say they bring somebody in that can elevate this offense like Jacoby Brissett did, then I'm still comfortable with that early second round pick. I'm not going to get too crazy, though, saying that he's going to get in the first round. I don't want to put him in that first 12 picks or first 14 picks. It's one of those situations I need to have answers at the quarterback position before I start putting them anywhere in that first round.
How about, say, second round or?
For me, I'm probably going to be off of Trey McBride next year a little bit, just because his price is going to be so high. And for me, it's less uncertainty. I could really see Jacoby Brissett being the quarterback of this team next year. I know that his winning percentage was abysmal, but everything was going wrong around him. They lose James Conner. They have a rotisserie at running back happening behind them with Bam Knight and DeMarcado and Michael Carter. Is he on the practice team? Is he starting? Who knows? Like, all of these inconsistencies, his number one wide receiver not being in the lineup. Jacoby Brissett, I think, earned that job. And I think if you're looking for a bridge with a new coach, or a new scheme hopefully happening over there, then, I think McBride's receptions will stay up, but whether or not he can continue the pace that he was on is going to be the big question.
The touchdowns are the big thing because with Jacoby Brissett coming in, he doubled the production in touchdowns for Trey McBride.
It was all that regression, man. He was so due.
He was so due. And the crazy thing is, last year in New Orleans in Media Row, I interviewed him. I was like, yo, how can we get you more into the end zone, bro? And he just kind of was like, it's coming, it's going to happen. And more so, this season proved that Drew Petzing's system works with Trey McBride as the number one option. It works when you have a Michael Wilson just come out of nowhere. And then Marvin Harrison, I think he'll come on. He battled injuries as well, but they had the set pieces there for Drew Petzing can kind of draw up and design it for this offense to work. So I'm with you, Scott. Jacoby Brissett earned that job. I think they go into 26 with him as the week one starter, bring in a younger quarterback, maybe an Anthony Richardson or somebody that
I wouldn't be happy about.
But I'm just saying, you got Arthur Smith interviewing for the head coaching job. I mean, I want to see some change of the culture. Keep the offense of what it is. Drew Petzing has showed us that his system works. It's intact, that this offense could be dangerous. They can go out there and score points, put up yards, and elevate these young players so they're not being set back in their development. And then we're looking at an offense that we've seen the last couple of years under Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see Trey McBride sneak up into the first round. And I just don't know that I'm willing to pay that. That being said, I think the Cardinals really need to spend this draft filling in everything else. They have need everywhere. They got to figure all that out. Jacoby can allow them to fill the cupboard elsewhere, and Trey is just a beast. So if he falls to me mid-second round, I'll take him.
I'm with you because he's been taking a lot of him the last couple of years, but now you got to pay for that career year. One offense that did break out in a big way, and look, when you were with us, Scott, Micah Parsons was still a Cowboy. So after he got traded, there was a lot of we've been too low on the Cowboys because they're going to have to throw. But before that, you came here and you were like, Dak Prescott and George Pickens are both going to break out. And Dak was awesome. Pickens was even better. For much of the year, Pickens was the wide receiver 2 or 3 up there with Puka and JSN. So he was being drafted as a wide receiver 2 and giving you high-end wide receiver 1 numbers. The question I have for you, though, because first of all, kudos on a great call. Do you think they could do it again?
Yeah, I think that Dallas is set up to offensively have to continue to sling it. They have so many needs on defense. They're going to continue, and they're going to have consistency. In game plan, they're going to have consistency in system, and they're going to have a year under their belt. I think what they need to figure out is, the beginning of the season, CD and Pickens are both saying, we've got 2-1s. We've got 2-1s. They have to play like 2-1s at all time, even when they're not getting the ball. That was the frustrating thing towards the end of the season. There was a couple of disappearing acts from Pickens, and you can't complain because you got so much good from him all the way. But in the moments where they needed him most, and he was getting a little frustrated, you could see. And I think a lot of people that know a lot more about football than I do were talking about it in a very specific ways. Watching film, watching him quit on routes, watching him kind of just check out for a little bit.
Arguing with Richard Sherman on social media about if he's continuing his routes or not.
That being said, I think there's a lot of leftover angst from being in a system. Maybe he has some PTSD from being in Pittsburgh for a couple of years and knowing how much talent he had and not seeing the ball, But for me, I think Dallas is still set up really well. The thing is, next year, you're going to have to pay those same prices. A lot of these calls were all built on the fact that I'm looking at constantly, where is the price? Can I afford Trey McBride at a onesie position in rounds 2 or 3, knowing that I can wait on quarterback and I can get The guys I had most this year, I had Drake Maye on 3 teams, and I had Dak on 2. And I was able to wait for these guys. I didn't understand why Dak was deflated. And that really sent me along this path of, we love CD. We love George Pickens. We don't think they have a run game, which Javonte was a revelation. That was great for him. As a former Bronco, I absolutely love what he did this year. Jake Ferguson was second in touchdown regression candidacy for me as far as tight ends went, because he had the same issue. It wasn't spoken about as much as Trey McBride last season, but he had the same thing. So if we love all these pieces, and I did love Ferguson as well, Dak's got to be great. So getting Dak or getting Drake very late allowed me to take Trey McBride, take that 1Z strong position, early on, and still not hurt my depth too much at the ones where you need the depth. So I think next year, I think they 100% can keep it going. Keep in mind, we're going to have CD there all year. And I know people think that Pickens only went on his tear because he was the true one and CD was hurt. If they can figure that out and both of them can go off together, which we've seen happen in plenty of places and we saw happen with them this year, there are a couple of games where they both hit, to the moon.
And act as alpha ones on that perimeter, there's no stopping this offense. So like in drafts, like it's going to be a constant conversation the closer we get to August, closer we get to September. Is it Pickens? Is it CD? How high does Pickens go? Like, are you willing to pay the price on Pickens? And like, I look at this as like Puka Nacua and a Devontae Adams this year. We had both of these wide receivers ranked inside the top 12. It doesn't matter which one you get. You're going to get a wide receiver one for your team. And I think the closer we get to August...
I'd say it mattered which one you got with the Rams.
Well, we'll say right now, hindsight 2020. If Adams stayed healthy...
No, he was great, but Puka's
the 101.
Yeah.
I said that earlier, but we'll get to that later. But I think at the end of the day, I'm willing to pay the price on Pickens. I'm actually like happy that most folks are looking at him like, well, he only went off when CD got hurt. No, he's shown the ceilings that we were saying the talent is there. He is in an offense that is a top 5 scoring offense, and you put him with a quarterback like Dak Prescott, you're getting yourself a wide receiver one in the second round.
So is that ADP going to be pick 20? Ish, that old T. Higgins range, 20 to 25,
that's where it
20 to
should
26?
be. Yeah, that's where it should be.
You think it'll be higher?
It would be higher. It'd definitely be higher.
Tough to pay.
I'm willing to pay that price, though, because in the first round, my strategy, we talked about, I'm heavy wide receiver. So I'm taking somebody off the board, a Drake London or whatever the case may be, if I'm in the back end of that first round. Early second round, if I can get him at the 203, 202, 201, I'm sitting there butter with a wide receiver one and another wide receiver one there with Pickens with that high ceiling.
I think it'll be more, though, in that because of the concerns of like CD's already there. I think that'll ding him a bit. I'm going to mold a couple of these takes into one because they kind of... So you had Josh Jacobs in the second round, which you were very high on Josh Jacobs as well, over Kenneth Walker. You also had, you were avoiding like Montgomery, Hubbard, and the running back dead zone. And then you were also fading Joe Mixon, who was kind of going in that range. So of those players, which of those calls are you like, that's the one I nailed the best?
Actually, I gotta take accountability here. I actually said I was high on the running back dead zone this year.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And that was also allowing me, again, when you're going into these drafts and you're taking Trey McBride at the, beginning of the second or even late second, early third, you got to know you're going to take a hit somewhere. And I was saying, man, I can find an RB2. I really believe.
Yeah, there was like RB2s. 6 running backs that you had that you were like.
Thought this year the running back dead zone was going to actually hit. So I went against the stream and I was like, all right. And I had a fantastic team where I hit on everything I wanted. I had Jaden Daniels and Dak Prescott. I had Tyler Warren. I had Emeka Egbuka, as well as George Pickens and Nico Collins. I had Josh Jacobs as my running back. But I had Walker and Montgomery and Charbonnet, and RB2 crushed me. It crushed me this year. That running back dead zone was what it always is. And they call it the running back dead zone for a reason. And if you wade in those waters, you might get chomped up. And I did this year. Josh Jacobs, I absolutely loved, though. I didn't understand why his price was depressed. He performs as a running back one, as a first rounder, period, when he's healthy. And if you had his backup, if you had one Eugene, you could go out there and you could get the same stats from him. So on another team where I decided to go, let me wait a little bit let me try and get RJ Harvey, because he was my fourth most drafted player this year. He's a back half of the year guy that if you could piece together RB2 until he was going to finally break. And in one league, I had him and JK together. That's my RB2, just kind of.
I did that too in a couple of spots.
And you could get him in 8, JK in 8, 9.
Yeah, it was easy to pair
RJ, 5, 6. So I went ahead and in the leagues where I decided to, I'm gonna wait it out. I'm gonna get some rookie talent in at my running back 2. I'm gonna get Woody Marks late, Henderson late, like whatever, or Henderson like blew up. But
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like that dead zone, I was completely wrong about this year. Connor, Montgomery, both the Seahawks backs, they killed a lot of people's seasons.
I was there with you on Connor, on Walker, on Pacheco. Which is why we've talked about it. And I know LQ is still very wide receiver heavy, but I need one of these early running backs in the first 2 rounds this year. Like I need, because you even like Chase Brown was awesome to end the year, but beginning of the year wasn't great. Like Kyron Williams was kind of up and down, ETN, and these are RB1s that we're taught like finish wise. So I feel like if you could get like a Bijan or a Gibbs or a Taylor, Achane, a Cook, it's such an advantage, because receivers, like we're talking about getting Pickens in like maybe late second.
Yeah.
That running back dead zone comes and it comes quick.
Yeah. It hit us quick this year. I mean, I think some of the running backs that were living outside the top 10 rounds, like you have the Javonte Williams who ended up flourishing, and then you have Travis Etienne. If we don't remember, like right before the season, up into the season, we had Tank Bixby, Brashad Dutton taking reps with the 1. So like, I think when you look at that dead zone, I try to at least focus in on some of those guys that have shown us workhorse ability, who've shown us they can at least be a high-end RB2. So I think I still want to wait on the running back, because I feel like I can find those guys. I found success finding some of these guys that live and breathe in that dead zone. Like I walk good in the dark, like I'm fine. Like I'm just saying, like I feel like wide receivers, to me, I want that stability. Like I talked about it on, last week on the episode, like there could be 6 to 7 running backs that go in the first round. I don't know if I'm willing to pay for some of those guys, like some of the guys that we talk about, Christian McCaffrey. I mean,
McCaffrey's one I'm avoiding.
He's going in the first 5 picks, Scott. I mean, do we not know how this story played out for Saquon Barkley this season? I mean, that's a lot of touches for somebody that's playing football this weekend.
Yeah, but the thing I will counter with is James Cook's price is going to rise, and I think he's going to be my next Josh Jacobs. I want to see if people want to go ahead and just let James Cook still exist in the second round, because people still kind of don't believe in him. They see the identity of the Bills being just Josh Allen, and he makes it work with all these lesser pieces around it. But follow the money. We talk about it all the time. Cook got paid.
Yeah.
And he's going to be fantastic. If he sneaks up into the first round, he's very much to me like, a better version of the Chase Brown situation, which if you got Chase Brown and you were able to get into your playoffs, you were rewarded towards the back end of the season.
Especially if you traded for him before the trade deadline.
There you go.
I was, because folks were like, oh, he's trash. He's garbage.
I would love to be in a league with you, because I still am going running back early. I still believe in that. And then avoiding the dead zone and then picking up your RB2 later. Don't pay that round 4, 5, 6 price. Pay the 9, 10, 11 price.
And take a couple of shots.
And take a couple of shots,
That's what I do. I'm a hero RB guy. You called Chris Olave's breakout. We are going to talk more about Olave later. I do. And James Cook, in all of the mocks or early rankings I've seen, he's like 12. So like he easily could be going.
He's my new Jacobs.
2.
I'll take him there.
Before we wrap up your takes segment, I do want to ask you about a couple of rookies. You were very high on Emeka Egbuka, and for the first 6 weeks, you look like an absolute genius. And then you were Colson Loveland over Tyler Warren, and early on that was a little shaky, but now that's starting to become a little bit more like Colson Loveland is balling out right now.
100%. Here's the thing: talent profile and coaching change. You got to understand the system that's coming in and wants to be installed. I said at the beginning of the season, Rome Odunze is going to be your Tim Patrick role when Ben Johnson was in Detroit. Luther Burden will eventually win out in the Amon-Ra role, which you started to see at the end of the season, which left DJ Moore kind of being that Jameson Williams. Are we going to get these big play stuff, these deep crossers over the middle? We're going to try and get him in space, right? Consistently, Laporta was always open, always there. And, Ben Johnson loves a tight end as well. And Colston Loveland was who he wanted to go get. And for me, there was a lot of questions in Indianapolis. And when I was with you guys, Daniel Jones hadn't been announced the starter yet. So I was even more gung-ho on Colston Loveland. But the thing I loved about him was he was a 12th, 13th round pick, which means you could pair him up with any other number of tight ends. And I say this all the time. I'm a back half of the season guy more so than an early season guy. I don't want a guy to go off for 6 weeks of the first 6 weeks of the year when everybody knows it might be a little bit of a mirage or can he sustain this or whatever. And you're trying to trade him at his highest value. No. Let Colston Loveland break out, which he did from week 9 on. Number 5 tight end in the league.
And he was just getting bet. Like in the playoffs were his best. And that's like, look, you want to win all 17 weeks, but 15, 16, 17 matter more than anything. Yeah. And I will admit, I drafted him in a couple of leagues, but I jumped ship before the breakout because it just wasn't happening early on. And I needed that spot and I was kicking myself at the end of the year.
You can only pick one guy. You can only pick one guy that you're going to hold, right? So I had a number of teams where I've got Harvey, who was still getting involved enough early. You've got Henderson, you've got Loveland, you've got Burden. You got to like start, cutting them down. But the beauty is, cut them before a week where they got a tough matchup. Cut them before a week where they got a bye coming up because you could pick them back up on the other side. Fill your spot, but if you really believe in him, make sure you go get him again. Emeka Egbuka, I'm really worried about him next year.
Are you?
Yeah, there was a lot of drops that seemed very uncharacteristic.
Yeah. And
I'm not too sure what was happening. I know we had Bridgewater throwing passes in the middle of the season. I know that Mike Evans went down and all of a sudden Emeka Egbuka started seeing number 1 coverages, all of these things, but he made some fantastic. You see the talent, you see his tough catch ability. He can do it on the perimeter. He can do it in the middle. He can do it all. He's got the complete skill set. Coming into year 2, he's got to figure out the drops, and they have to figure out what that offense's identity is, and they're going to have a new OC come into play here. There's going to be a lot of things happening in Tampa that puts me in a place where I have questions. If people are drafting him, his first 6-game hype, and he's going super early, I don't think I'm going to have as much of him. I'd love to wait. I'd love to see it depress a little bit.
I think it's going to be that because of how poor the end of the season was. I think and you could speak fantasy people were they were annoyed almost at the lack of production. And I say it a lot. We put our expectations on the players and then hold it against the players when we're wrong. And people had high expectations for Egbuka. But we're going to take a quick break. You might have noticed, you know that who I'm rocking with today, but you might have also noticed Scott is in full Denver Broncos attire.
It's about to get spicy.
We're about to get spicy, as LQ said here on the NFL Fantasy Football Show, because it's Bills, it is Broncos. So Scott, I'm just going to open up we're going to hang up and listen, right? I want your opening thoughts on this, because it's a huge game. Bills Broncos divisional round in Mile High.
Yeah, I feel like Bills fans and Broncos fans are pretty similar. Look, I know that we've gotten a couple of Super Bowls, but we also, as a longtime Bronco fan, had some really embarrassing Super Bowl losses. And then we've had a drought of just really, really tough runs, and we were an organization that we're used to winning. I think we set the record at one point for most consecutive years being in the playoffs. The organization has seen a shift from the Bolins to our new ownership. And I think hopefully they're starting to get it together. But I think a lot of us have bated breath when we go into a game like this. I was hoping to get another shot at Jacksonville, if I'm being completely honest.
I'm happy you don't.
The thing is that cold, dry elevation, middle of winter, that kind of thing can be a huge bonus for home field advantage for the Broncos. But we got the one guy coming into town who doesn't care. I mean, he just doesn't care. Josh Allen, big Wyoming boy who lives all his years in Buffalo. I mean, they don't care. They're the ones that are usually come to the snow, right?
Come outside.
For me, the home field advantage is kind of lessened a little bit when you have that alien of a man at quarterback coming into play who's not daunted at all by the weather. But that being said, you also look at the matchups and you say, okay, what are our strengths? What are your weaknesses?
Yep.
And I don't know that they match up favorably for the Broncos. Bo Nix is really going to have to take a step forward this game. The Broncos, the most important thing, I think, in my opinion, have to win time of possession to win this game. Something that a lot of people don't know is Buffalo, we hear about it because we're fantasy fans and we pay attention to it. And you see Sean Tucker go for, 40 points against the Bills because they're so terrible at run defense. Buffalo doesn't care.
Yeah.
They don't care because if you get a big hitter, that just means Josh Allen's coming back on the field.
Yeah.
If they give up chunk plays, Josh Allen gets more possessions, right? At the end of the day. And they believe that if you give Josh Allen 12 to 14 possessions, Buffalo's going to win. The Broncos have a hard time sustaining drives at points in this season. We get into third and long situations, and sometimes Bo just can't make it happen. Defensively, that's what you guys are. You want to get people, give up chunk plays, give up whatever, get your confidence up, but let's catch you in a third and long.
Yep.
Let's disguise some coverages and let's make you make a mistake, right? So what we really need is RJ Harvey and that offensive line and Jaleel McLaughlin, who's been averaging over 5 yards a carry since the beginning of December, get 5 to 6 a play. I don't want to see huge chunk plays. I want to see the Broncos sustain drives, convert touchdowns, win time of possession. I think if they do that, they've got a shot here. If they don't win time of possession, and this is a crazy stat, right? The Buffalo Bills have given up 185 yards plus rushing 6 times this year. 4 of those games, they won time of possession. 4 of those games, they won. Giving up 185 yards rushing, still win. And that's because of Josh Allen. So let's win time of possession and see what happens. Let's keep Josh Allen to 8-9 possessions and see if we can pull this thing out.
To Scott's points, like I'm a big believer that styles make fights in the NFL. And yeah, I like, so the Bills can't stop the run. Denver, since the J.K. Dobbins injury, hasn't been as great. But the other thing, even more than that, is what you guys excel at is taking away wide receivers. And
you don't have any.
Exactly. Like
who are we taking away?
Who is Surtain going to take away? Brandon Cooks? But at the same point in time, Sean Payton, I think, hit the nail on the head this week where he was like, when the Bills lose, they lose the turnover battle. So I think they need to protect the ball. But LQ, this is from a Bills fan and from a Broncos fan standpoint. So as someone who roots for neither team, what are your expectations in this game?
You're right. I don't root for either team, but I go for Bo Nix because it's Knicks tape season. Come on, Scott. You already know what side I was going on, man. But I feel like Scott hit the nail on the head. Convert on third down. Keep Josh Allen on the bench. Keep him on the bench all into the fourth quarter where he doesn't have the ball in his hand and they're comfortably with the lead or comfortably coming back. Because again, I told you this last week. The way y'all play Jacksonville, don't you get into a nail biter with Denver because folks forget that Bo Nix has the most game-winning drives in the league. He is one of those clutch factors. Everybody points to Caleb. No, you better look at Bo.
Bo's good. I'm not knocking
Bo. Out of that pocket,
I'll take my chances with 17, though.
Yeah, all right, man. Look, Bo get out of that pocket. He is hard to contain as well. And like in the back end of the season, we started seeing them legs get a little bit more loose. And we started to see some of the decision-making where he was playing Wild Wild West ball last year, Scott, where some of those decisions, like, I would have threw that away. We're seeing more of a condensed and more conservative Bo Nix in these type of games where this is a big game, man. Like, I hope that you guys convert on third down, run the ball. RJ Harvey is magnificent in the passing game as well. Give him the checkdowns. Bo, don't take those wrists rolling out of the pocket where you're trying to hit Sutton or Troy Franklin or either one of the twins, Marvin Mims or Franklin. These are going to be big factors. But I want to touch on the defense real quick. You guys don't have wide receivers. All you got to do is contain Josh Allen, right? And I know Riley Moss, he gets a lot of flack on the internet because he gives up the second most yards and all this other stuff. But nobody talks about how he is leading all corners and defensive backs in passes defense. So you guys should be able to contain Eminem in D12 and, the analogy, Eminem will be Josh Allen. And then we can go Obi Trice with, James Cook and bizarre as Dalton Kincaid, et cetera, et cetera. But you guys have everything on the table to win this game. So I'm going for Denver to come out as a victory. I'm not turning a knife on you, bro.
Hey,
I just feel like without the wide receivers, you guys only have 3 healthy wide receivers. I actually don't think
I think the wide receiver talking point is getting hugely overblown because the Bills haven't had a wide receiver outside of Khalil Shakir. Who isn't a traditional wide receiver. Like, they use him almost as an extension of the running game. That I think that talking, like, it matters, but I think it's going to be what gets talked about all week. And what I truly think matters in this game is who runs the ball better. And I'm including both quarterbacks in that as well, because I think if you're the Bills, you're looking at last year's playoff game where you're like, James Cook was able to run very effectively, and you want to try to double down on that. That is their identity as much as they have Josh Allen. And if you're the Broncos, you want exactly what you said. You want those 5-yard plays. You want to keep them on the sideline, win the time of possession. So as much as the receivers are going to get talked about, I think the running game is what decides this.
Yeah, and our defense has actually struggled against running quarterbacks this year. And you see Mariota lead the Commanders to over 30 points against this vaunted Broncos defense. You go, what is going on? What is going wrong? You say, well, the Broncos played pretty base all game, We had some free runners at the end. We made big plays, Bonito with that knockdown. But, we could have lost that game. And you look at a very depleted Washington receiving core in that game, and it's very similar to this situation against Buffalo. But Josh Allen is leagues ahead of Mariota. So I am a little bit nervous. My hope is that Vance and this 5-2 defense have figured out a way to at least put a strong spy. We can maybe pull somebody down out of the secondary. We can maybe man up and not have to worry so much in the back end and let somebody just really kind of hunt Allen.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. And
Jaquan McMillan might be your guy.
Yeah.
He might be your guy to shout out to JQ, by the way. His Q is capitalized as well.
Okay.
Just saying, shout out to him. But I think that he'll be another deciding factor on this defense of keeping Josh Allen contained. And then you guys don't need to really pressure him.
He's going to be tricky, though, because McMillan and Shakir are going to be, it's kind of going to be, he might be following Shakir around. So,
I'm kind of bracing for Surtain on Dalton Kincaid. I think kind of what they did with Travis Kelce late in the year.
That's what's got me really nervous is who's going to cover Dalton Kincaid, because for great defenses to be really, really great, you have to have a guy who can lock up big tight end weapons. We know what our outside corners can do. We know that Riley Moss is gettable, but at the same time, can bat some balls down, but who's going to patrol that interior, right? We had one in our Super Bowl 50 team. A guy who can get sideline to sideline. This time, who's it going to be? If we have to pull Pat down, man, what happens on the back end when Josh gets a play to break down? Can he go over the top of us? I hope not. Let's, I'm nervous, but
I think this is going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a chess match because there's so much talent on both sides, and it's just how you deploy that talent. Yep. And like so Broncos, Bills is how we're
yeah. Broncos, Bills, undecided.
I
told you at the beginning of the season, I am not a little stitious. I am superstitious. So I just wanted to say it how I think it's going to play out. I think the way that we do win, I explained it earlier. And if we can do those things, we can pull it out, but I'm not going to say.
I know you don't want to hear this as a Broncos fan. I kind of feel like you're playing, not with house money. I hate when people say that, but like coming into the first 2 years with Sean Payton, it was like, all right, we got to get out of cap hell from Russell Wilson's contract. This was supposed to be like a 2-year rebuild, and you guys are the 1 seed in the AFC. You were in the playoffs last year. Like, you're way ahead of schedule, and the future is very, very bright.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of guys that we've got to re-up at any point soon. I mean, we've got some guys this year in the offseason, but, I think this core is going to be together for quite some time, and that's very exciting to me.
Pat Bryant.
I do want to see Peyton just open up this playbook just a little bit.
Pat Bryant's going to be your X factor, man. He's your next two. Like I was all on him all summer where I'm like, this guy can ball. Like Sean Payton is looking at him, not to crash out Michael Thomas, but he has that type of build. Like he has that ability. Like one of the catches, I forget what game it was in the end zone where he fully extended, dragged foot. And it's like, this guy's a rookie.
Yeah.
That's a part of the reason we are where we are. Sean Payton drafted team captains. He drafted dependent.
You were talking about that in the summer.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
And we see it play through.
And Pat Bryant for Good Morning Football, I mean, in his interview, he said all summer he was just watching Jamar Chase. Like if he's looking and studying and looking at film and seeing himself and put himself in Jamar Chase's shoes, Yeah, Pat Bryant's going to have a bright future in Denver.
The one takeaway I have with Denver, though, is don't draft their rookies at a high price. Because Sean Payton loves to slow roll those. Like, for a real NFL team, it makes sense. But for fantasy, not always the best. But it's not the only game we have on Saturday. We have one near and dear to LQ's heart because he hates both of these teams. The 49ers at Seattle, which we saw in Week 18. And Brock Purdy was just suffocated in that game. They scored 3 points. Final score was 13-3. It was an ugly game, but that's the kind of game that Seattle wants to play. The 49ers obviously want to play a little bit of a higher scoring game. Scott, we'll start with you. Do you think the 49ers offense can get right against this defense?
No Trent Wiliams at the end of the year in that 13-3 game. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Massive difference. Purdy can play off schedule with the best of them in the league. I really do believe that. Touchdown to Christian McCaffrey last week, late in the game, when they needed the most. That was his fifth option, right? This is a flood concept right coming out of the left hash mark. He checks all 4 receivers on this flood action, comes back to McCaffrey, who's got a little reverse China route, comes back to the inside. Looked very much like a Cooper Kupp-esque route, actually. He ran it really well. And, Shanahan, his name is always kicked around. For me, he's my coach of the year. Saleh is probably my assistant of the year. To see what he's done with that defense, with all those injuries, I can't quite count their schemes out, but they have to go to Seattle.
Yeah.
And here's the deal, man. Seattle's run game is, as much as it's terrible for fantasy players, it's great for that team.
Oh, yeah.
If they get that thing going. If K9 and Charbonnet are both kind of picking up 4 yards per carry and this thing's just kind of trudging down the field, that's when defenses start to fall asleep. And that's when Jackson Smith-Njigba goes big over the top. I don't think a lot of people saw him being one of the greatest downfield threats for this season. And that's what he is. And it's partially because that offense will just beat you up, and then go over the top.
And
so
to your point,
I think it's going to be tough.
Those two combined in Week 18 for over 170 rushing yards. Yeah. So if they can't stop that, I don't think they could stop.
Because you see it in that Rams game where, Chris really doesn't care about, how many yards a player gets, but he wants to stop the explosive plays. And Kenneth Walker in that game was just explosive from inside the field, in between the tackles, outside the tackles. That's kind of just what Ken Walker is. He's an explosive back. And then when you have Zach Charbonnet as the hammer, man, you get that run game and it's looking like, how do we stop this? Like, you can't stop a Ken Walker when he's hot. And then Zach Charbonnet in the red zone, it's almost an automatic touchdown. So, getting in striking distance is it's kind of hard to stop the Seahawks, man.
They have to do something out of character on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
San Francisco has to be able to stop the run and one-up JSN on defense. They're capable of doing it. But then on offense, they're going to have to play off schedule consistently.
Yeah.
And Brock is very good at it, but minus a weapon like Kittle, it's going to be really, really tough.
As a Rams fan, we lost to basically a JV team full of, just the Thunderbolts, guys that just were like, Demarcus Robinson, Kendrick Bourne, what are they? Jake Tongas, who are these guys? And I always give respect to Kyle Shanahan.
100%.
Not because he's my birthday twin, but
I don't know about this.
Listen, I give respect to Kyle Shanahan because him on the sticks is how did he even make this up? Scott brought up the Christian McCaffrey, touchdown. Everything's flooding right. You got McCaffrey coming out of the A-gap sneakily, and then he's there available. He always puts the players in the best positions. And I don't think that, Seattle can go in here sleeping. Mac McDonald's got a lot on his hands with Kyle Shanahan drawing these things up.
That's the thing. They're well coached. It doesn't matter who you put in as long as they're following
He will
coaching.
put you in position to shine.
And I all these players that play for Shanahan they'll all tell you he puts us in the position to win. His scheme's fantastic, but also it's the little things, the fundamental things, understanding route concept, where you're breaking it off, all of these things. And it's really, really great, but even better is that Seattle defense. So
do you guys think them playing Philly last week is a good I don't want to call it a warm-up, but like a get ready game or whatever, because Philly has a great rushing attack. They have 2 wide receivers that could beat you downfield instead of just one in JSN. And they have a very physical, great defense of their own. So part of me is like, I know Seattle is better than Philly, but I'm like, if you handled Philly, you might be able to head up to Seattle, and also a team that you know even better than like Eagles.
Looking at this, like, Seattle doesn't matter to me because the 49ers are undefeated since 2021. That was their last loss to Seattle in Seattle. Like, they handled them very well at their house. And again, you cannot look on the other side and have Kyle Shanahan over there just sitting there grinning. Yeah, we're going to eat you up, because that's exactly what he did in the first matchup against, the Rams.
If we're giving coaches credit, though, I think Mike McDonald might be, if he's not the best defensive coach, he's top 2 or 3.
Matt can do it, man.
Yeah, like he is a genius.
But I got the Whiners in this, though.
So you're picking the Niners.
Whiners,
he called. Who are you going with?
I'm taking Hawks. Former AFC. Let's go.
Let's go.
I'm former going AFC West, mate.
The Hawks as well. I just think the Niners are too depleted. All right, time to break down the Sunday games here. Start off with the AFC game. Texans versus Patriots. This one is an interesting one, I would say, because you have the up-and-coming, maybe the MVP. I know he's not your MVP, but maybe in Drake Maye against a Texans defense that has shut down every big-name quarterback that you've thrown their way. In fact, in like a 3-week span, they made Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes look more human-like than I have ever seen them since they have broke out. So the simple question here is, who has the advantage, Drake Maye or the Texans defense?
I mean, I got to give it to the Texans defense. How quickly is Maye going to be able to process Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson coming full speed at you? It's not just one entity coming at you. They have other guys on that back end that can shut it down, and you have no other options. Like, I don't feel as though he has the strong enough core in the pass catchers to be able to get the one up, get the advantage. Like, he's going to have to use his legs to get out of his pocket to convert on third down, getting striking distance. They're going to be one of these situations where this game, it might not be high scoring, because we know the Texans offense, they're inconsistent. There may not be a bunch of points on their side, but they will get in striking distance and have the opportunity to get up on you. We just saw them do it to Pittsburgh. Like, they will take the ball and run away with it if you give them the chance. So Maye has to come in locked in, because this would probably be the best defense he's faced all season, to be honest. And I'm looking at this game, honestly, Maye can impress. He can go out there and do everything he can, but if he doesn't have those other guys, the supporting cast to step up, it's going to be a long game.
Yeah, for me, the real difference maker could be on the other side of the ball. Houston's inability to get their run game going pretty frequently this year versus the strength of what the Patriots do up front. Christian Gonzalez is practicing today. Seems like he's probably going to
Nico Collins is not.
And Nico Collins is going to be out. So as much as we want to talk about lack of weapons on the offensive side of the ball for the New England Patriots, it's even larger currently.
Yeah.
Now, I saw this team play an ugly, maybe the ugliest primetime game I've ever seen when the Texans played against the Seahawks earlier this year. And I think it's going to be a very similar situation. Nico Collins went out in the first half of that game with a concussion along the sideline. Stroud was in the game almost until the very end, and that was the beginning of the Davis Mills run, all credit to Davis Mills. That man should make some money next year.
Yeah,
that man should be
under the radar.
Held it down, very talented, and he actually played well with Nico the year before they drafted CJ Stroud. So something to keep an eye on, for dynasty folks out there. That being said, getting Woody Marks going against New England in New England is going to be very, very difficult, which means you've now got CJ Stroud with the newly resurgent Christian Kirk and then a bunch of young guys who are all kind of same to me. So can they get enough done? I am not sure they can. Whereas on the other side of the ball, you have a guy in Diggs who knows how to get open against the hardest competition, even at 32. Right? We've seen games this year where he's got 8, 10, 12 receptions. That's what they need out of him. They need a chain mover, right? Once they get that going, the best deep ball thrower this season in the NFL was Drake Maye. Mm-hmm. If you can get his rookie receiver, if you can get Boutte, if you can get Kyle Wiliams or Boutte, like one of them open down for just one big shot, that could be it. Couple that with the fact that both of his running backs are so good in the pass game and the run game. I think a lot of people sleep on Ramondre. He is fantastic in the pass game, and he is very good at blitz pickup. So you have this situation last week against the Chargers where you were seeing Justin Herbert's backs never pick up these blitzes, these exotic stunts, all of these things that were happening. That this week for the Patriots is going to be key. Can they pick up the guy who breaks through the offensive line? Can they pick up a free rusher? Can they pick up blitzes? I think they can. I think the Pats win. I think offensively, the lack of weapons for Houston is going to hurt them this game. And the thing with massively great defenses, when they win big games, you almost always pair them with a great run defense. I mean, great running game on offense. They just don't have that right now. So, I think if Drake Maye gets off schedule, he's got a better chance of making plays than CJ Stroud being off schedule.
I kind of agree with everything the both of you said, because I think Drake Maye's legs are huge in this one. Houston, as good as they are defensively, second most yards per carry to quarterbacks, 30% of QB's runs go for 10 or more yards against them. So that's a free first down. And there was times on Monday, like there was one play where Hunter and Anderson were chasing down Aaron Rodgers, and he had a whole bunch of, and he just, at this age, he can't do it.
That ain't happening,
But
boss.
if that's Drake Maye, that's a first down, you know? So, and I also question if I think a couple of big plays change it. Both offenses tend to be big play reliant, but I think the Patriots have a better chance of hitting those big plays just because I worry about CJ Stroud and the weapons and everything. And I just don't know if Houston could score enough points to allow their unless it's something like we saw in that fourth quarter where like a pick six or a fumble recovery for a touchdown. If the defense scores a touchdown, maybe that flips things.
Yeah.
Spinning this to, because I think we all agree Patriots, right?
I want to lean Patriots, but I'm going Houston. With
Houston, okay.
Defenses win championship.
I think the Pats win it, and for DFS players out there, I think Ramondre.
Yeah.
I think Ramondre is a great play. I think, as much as Hunter Henry is a little bit of a security blanket for Drake Maye, Ramondre out of the backfield in this particular game, I think
A lot of dump offs.
may be the key. So I would put some chips in on him.
Spinning this forward though, I have a ton of concerns about CJ Stroud. Like that rookie year was awesome, but the last two have been very disappointing. I know he hasn't had a great O-line. I know the play callers have changed and everything. Is it circumstances to you guys, or are you concerned about CJ Stroud?
I think it's circumstances, because we talked about Nick Caley's the offensive coordinator. He's from the McVay tree, but it's not being, displayed at the strongest suit of what this offense could be. But your run game took a step back. You have two rookie wide receivers that you're trying to develop into being essentially your every down starters, because Nico Collins' injury history is not the cleanest. So you need guys to step up. I think the more that they get reps, CJ will be fine next year when they get an identity of this offense, because we don't really have anybody that you could point to and like, he's going to take over the game if Nico's not there. Like Christian Kirk is fine, but Christian Kirk's getting up there in age. So I think we do a whole reset in the way we evaluate this Texans offense next year. Like these next couple months, the moves that they make is going to have to be crucial. Beef up that O-line, get a running back to match what Woody Marks is, because Woody's great in the
I think
pass
Woody's a
game.
2. I don't know
he's not going to be your every down back.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb at times flashes. He looks good. He can get you first downs, but he's getting up.
The best is behind.
Right? Like we're not getting any better in certain areas of the field, but your wide receiver core, Tank Dell, he's on the way back. I think he's going to take some time to really get back to what we knew him was. But this identity of this offense, it's non-existent right now.
I agree with you. I think it's circumstance. I know a lot of people like to go back to his time at Ohio State and say that he had 3 fantastic receivers. He had a room that was insanely talented, sure. But what I saw from him at Ohio State, being a Nebraska fan, is a guy who can stand in the pocket, who can dissect defenses, who can go through his progressions. It's tough to do that when you have offensive coordinator changes consistently. It's tough to do that when you have a defensive-minded head coach who doesn't necessarily key in on the offense. I'm not comparing him to Burrow when I say this, but when Burrow doesn't have an offensive line in front of him, he still has the consistency of 2 fantastic wide receivers, of a head coach who is offensive-minded, who he is in lockstep with ever since he's come into the league, right? He understands that system. He understands alerts. He understands everywhere he has to go, and he has guys who can make it happen, okay? CJ Stroud has never had that. He needs an offensive line, and he needs consistency at play calling. And I think once that happens, you're going to be okay. Here's the thing. The Texans have to run 6 offensive linemen consistently, which takes another man out of your route progression. It takes another person outside of your availability to throw the ball. That is such a hindrance to any quarterback. You're running 2 receiver route trees. That's it. You have 2 places to go with the ball. Dalton Schultz is having to stay in, and he's also slow as molasses. Like, at what point are we going to say everything around him may just be too much for this young man? It's circumstance for me. I think CJ Stroud is a very good quarterback. I think he is, and I think he has the capability to be even better, take a step forward. Let's get him some consistency. Let's get him some protection, and let's get him another weapon, because all of their weapons that they've been drafting are like odd facsimiles of somebody they already have, right? Noel is kind of like a, exactly. And then you have Hutchinson, who is kind of, he's a Nico Light. He's like, what are we doing here? I'm not sure, they need guys to come in and have identities of their own.
Jaden Higgins is literally the exact prototype of Nico Collins. He can win downfield, make the perimeter catches, sideline. The development is going on pace, because we've seen flashes this season from Higgins. And he's another prospect where I'm like, they just drafted the exact mirror of Nico Collins. But I get the thinking, though.
Yeah.
If Nico's not there on the field, you have the same guy that can run the same routes and give you the same production once he's developed out.
The thinking I never understood, because for me, when I watched Stroud in college, it was like he's great, except for when he's under, when pressure's in his face. I feel like that is something that gets to him. And they were like, you know what? We're going to continue to just make your O-line worse and worse and worse each year. So I don't understand that. But closing out the weekend, we know what his thoughts are. We're going to get to you, LQ, but Scott, I want to ask you first. Rams, Bears. I have given LQ I've given him a hard time this year that Matthew Stafford is great, except for when stuff goes wrong and the conditions are a factor. And go back to the Eagles game last year when it started snowing. They struggled. I know he's upset.
I'm not upset yet.
I just want to ask you, because I know what LQ's answer is going to be. How much of a factor is the weather going to be in this game? Is it the great neutralizer? Because I think we'd all agree the Rams on paper have more talent than the Bears.
Sure. But the Bears have the single greatest home field advantage of this divisional round weekend, period. Even over Seattle. We've already talked about how home field advantage is kind of neutralized in Denver because of who's coming to town. The Rams having to go to Chicago, deal with this weather and this very hungry fan base.
Yeah.
Right? Against a man in Ben Johnson who has coached in the same conference as these Rams for a while, right? Has picked the brain of Jared Goff, who used to play for this Rams team, right? He understands the ins and outs, right? And that's not to say anything about, I know the Bears haven't been running the ball like they did in the middle of the season in the last couple of weeks, but they look very similar to the Panthers in the way that they have 2 backs that will come in and punish you. They have 2 backs that can come in and be multiple, right? Monangai can catch the ball.
Yeah.
We already know what Swift is capable of. Is he punishing? Not necessarily, but he's punishing in a different way. He gets you running and you're in this cold weather and you're not used to it. What's that Rams defensive front going to look like in quarter 3 and quarter 4 against the Ben Johnson offense, who really does actually want to run the ball? People forget. He made it work with 2 backs for years in Detroit. He wants to do the same thing here. Against this Rams team, sure, maybe some of the weaknesses are on the back end, right? Your corner play, maybe a little bit against all these weapons that they have. But I think Ben Johnson and his mind would love to just line up and run. Run. And if the Rams can't figure that out, this home field advantage becomes even worse, right? So I think it's a very tricky game for the Rams. I think seeing them struggle against the Panthers twice and knowing what this Bears team is capable of, this could be the same kind of dogfight.
I know teams are always going to downplay the weather, and the Rams are doing that right now, as you have to. As a cold weather fan, I'm a Bills fan, I've seen many warm weather city teams go in there and say it's not going to be a factor. We all live in LA. It was 80 degrees yesterday. You cannot simulate. It is going to be potentially in the single digits at kickoff on Sunday night. You can't emulate that. How worried are you about the weather?
The weather is not a factor to me, man. Because we got to be honest. Matthew Stafford lived in Detroit for how many years? Like
They
the cold weather, it is what it is.
Played in a dome.
But he lived in there. He lived in the cold in Detroit. I'm not worried about the weather for the simple fact.
But. I'm from New York. You're from New Jersey. We've been in LA now for just about as long as Matthew Stafford has. The cold hits me different now than it did then.
We are built different because, again, I go back to this factor. It will come down to the key factors of losing and winning this game. Because as much as we can come back and show that we still have to fight the Falcons game I want to bring up, and then we can go out there and make the mistakes that ends up losing the game. What it's actually going to come down to is exactly what Scott brought up. It's this dual-headed backfield. You need to be able to stop Swift getting involved in the passing game because he will eat our linebackers apart. Nate Landman's not going to be able to be on both sides of the field. You know what I mean? Kyle Monungai, he's that hammer. He can also catch the ball. He can also punish you. It's one of those things that I pointed out last week. Like, we improved in not missing these tackles, the key tackles. That was such a huge factor. But since Quinn Lake has been out, he is back now, but since he's been out in the regular season, we were missing tackles at the highest rate. So it's like one of those things, if we can complete these tackles, stop these guys from getting those extra yards, we should be able to put a cap on that run game. Not completely remove it because Ben Johnson's going to attack in this cold weather. Because Caleb, I think the biggest issue with Caleb, at least for this defense, is when he gets out of that pocket.
Yep.
When he's rolling out. Because we don't have the corners that are going to be able to lock down these guys like a Roma Dunze, a DJ Moore, a Luther Burden, a Colston Lovell. Like, the list goes on with other playback factors. Olame Zacchaeus, Cole Kmet's still out here. Like, it's one of those things where it's like there's too many mouths to feed, and we don't have the secondary to sit there and say, hey, we could lock it down. So our front, in the cold weather, they're going to have to get nitty gritty. They're going to have to get after Caleb quickly and often to not have these big plays happen. Because another thing on the offside of the ball that I want to touch on real quick, we're going to have to run the score up early because you can on this defense. We cannot let this get to the third quarter.
That's where the Bears want to be.
One. They want to wait until the full quarter with 4 minutes left. That's exactly
I was just going to say
want.
this. If the Rams can get up early, it could be a little bit difficult for, as that time speeds up for Caleb, maybe his second playoff game. You listed all these names who are in their first year with Ben Johnson, who are in their second year in the league or first year in the league. What happens when things start to break down? Are they going to remember their fundamentals? What we talked about with Shanahan and all those guys in his system, they know what to do on play breakdowns. They know exactly where to go to get back to the ball, to give Purdy a chance, right? Do these guys have some mental mistakes, right? If the Rams can get up early and apply pressure, I see it being get up a couple of scores, see if the Bears can force it. Now, Caleb's been great in comeback mode for sure, but this is a different level.
Yeah.
If the Rams can kind of quiet things down a little bit and get up big early. However, we've seen them blow big leads. The mental game is going to come into play. That game against Seattle, of course, is going to be in the back of everybody's mind.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Don't be looking forward. I'm taking the Bears in an upset this week.
Ooh, I think if the Bears are within striking distance in the second half, that crowd is going to. Plus, it's a tough place to kick, and you guys have had a lot of special teams issues this year.
I was about to say, our kicker, thicker to kicker. All right, there's a Mavis. He's been accurate. Only one missed this season. It's a matter of McVay not going for it on fourth down when we're in striking distance.
It's a little bit different when you're in the Windy City, though.
I hear you, but take those shots. I'd rather us take a shot at putting points on the board than leaving points on the table. There's no reason why last week against the Panthers we're going for it on fourth down. Why are we going on fourth down when it has not worked? It's always bit us in the butt. And then now we're playing, let's contain them. They're on the comeback. Those are points we could be already up and comfortable. It happened in Seattle, the Pants game, Falcons game even, where we left points on the table. That cannot happen this game.
Here's the biggest thing for me. And we've been talking about strength on strength or strength on weakness, et cetera, et cetera. The Bears defense against this Rams offense, they love to send pressure. Stafford is great against that, right? However, they live off of turnovers.
Yeah.
They feast off of it, right? This is a very aggressive. This reminds me kind of the Saints defense when Peyton was there, when they won the Super Bowl, when Sean Payton was there. They were a very attacking, downhill defense. That is what the Bears want to be. If they can get Stafford off schedule, if the weather at all affects him, it's going to be a long day for the Rams. He can turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And when he does, he can be a little streaky. If they can get one early, it's going to be really, really tough. And the X factor to me, actually, and this is so weird to say, is Davante Adams. If they get into the red zone, he's your X factor. That's it. I know all these tight ends have been great. I know everything. He's your touchdown converter. If you get up big, I think it's going to be in the hands of Davante, and we'll see what happens. But like I said, I'm picking the Bears.
Bears, I know who you're picking. I'm not even asking. Rams. I'm going to go with Rams too, but I think the turnovers and a deep ball to Rome or DJ might flip it. I think it's going to be a close competitive game. We did last week, Scott, a way too early mock where we just went around. It was LQ, me, Marcus, and we just made our picks like that for the first 12. I will read you the 12 names. You could tell me what you think and who stands out. It went Puka, Bijan, Gibbs, feels pretty chalky for next year. Then CMC, Chase, Taylor, Amon-Ra St. Brown, JSN, Devon Achane, Chris Olave, CD Lamb, and James Cook. Your boy James Cook went 12th overall. So if this is how the first round shakes out next season, what stands out to you?
Chris Olave, ceiling is too high. I absolutely love the guy. He is intensely talented. He has a great relationship with Tyler Shuck. That being said, I don't know if he's at a place where I'm taking him over the security of a running back in round one. For me, we talked about this earlier. I still think Hero RB is huge. I think making sure you've got a solid RB2 as well. Like if this year I saw a number of guys have C-Mac and Jonathan Taylor on their team.
Yeah.
It happened all over the place. Jonathan Taylor in the second round. Right? If there's somebody with that talent, if you take, say you're on the back end of round one and or you're in the middle of it and Jonathan Taylor falls to you. You come back around in the middle of round two and you've got a Chase Brown, a James Cook, like one of these guys sitting there. I'd be hard pressed to take Chris Olave over either of them. I think Chris Olave, for me, if you get him in the third, great. Take him in the back half of round one. Take him in the back half of round two. That's even a little bit of a stretch for me, but his injury history, he talked about it this year. He thought about retirement.
Yeah.
At 24 years old. I mean, that's tough, right? I love the fact that he had the season that he had. I don't know if this volume of receptions is going to come to him. I think the Saints are going to get better defensively. I think they're going to take a step and evolve as an offense next year. I think Shuck's going to evolve, which means the ball is going to get spread around a little bit more. So Olave stands out to me there. I got ridiculed for taking Amon-Ra at the end of round one in a league.
Why?
I don't know why. I have no idea.
He's the not sexy
fantastic.
pick.
I know he's up there in the middle of round one. I have zero problems with that. The other guy that I'm hoping just kind of depresses a little bit is James Cook, because I do think he's going to be my target.
I see him going in the second round.
I would love to get him at RB2, and I'd love to just laugh all the way to the bank. You know, some guys who have fallen out of round one are kind of surprising to me. But the guy that I could see not performing up to expectations next year, the last guy I'm going to look at on this list, is going to be Devon Achane. I think he can do it all. He is a fantastic back. He proved this year he can take it inside. He can get outside. We know he can catch the ball. But we're going to have a regime change.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what is the running scheme going to be next year. He's not going to be playing with McDaniel, who I think should not have been fired.
Agreed.
In my opinion. I think he was saddled with a general manager who made terrible move after terrible move. I think he had a quarterback who had injury after injury, and I think he did the best with what he had. And the fact that you still had guys just performing consistently in his offense, I don't know what that regime change is going to bring for Devon Achane. So those three guys are kind of question marks. Everybody else on the list, sure.
I do think James Cook right now is getting pushed up because he just won the rushing title. I think we'll have a whole summer where everyone's like, oh no, Josh is going to steal all the touchdowns again. I could see him going round two. I will say I had Chris Olave. He won me a couple of championships. I was not the one who picked him though. I was shocked to see him go here as well. Our man LQ is the one who took him 10th overall.
I took him. And I'll say this will be his ceiling that I'll be taking him. Like, I do think he could be in the top 5 conversation. And here's why. Tyler Shuck, he's shown us that he can man this offense. I mean, Kellen Moore, he's putting up some great plays for him to go out there, design, and execute it. His ability outside the pocket with his legs, very Caleb-like, very Bo-like, right? We're going to be seeing this team have a whole new offense looking like next year with more additions to that offense. You have key pieces in Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson. So my take is that when you have Tyler Shough, if he takes this year 2 jump, let's say he has a Carson Wentz second year impact, we're looking at a Saints offense that's going to be in striking distance more often than not. And where are those touchdowns going to go? Because I don't think anybody that they bring in is going to be better in talent, better in situation. don't do that. He needs to. We're going to go save that for next episode. But anyway, Chris Olave, to me, the same way we saw JSN hit that elevation, have that breakout, I think we're looking at Chris Olave that can possibly be entering that top 5 conversation. Touchdowns are there, the volume's there, and you have a quarterback now that seems to be consistent on pace to be your guy until further notice with the 8th overall pick. They have options to make this offense be even better. And the backs, Kendrick Miller, Devin Neal, Alvin Kamara, it didn't matter who they had back there. They showed some ability to have the run game to perform at times when they needed to convert on third downs.
Yeah. Look, man, I see what you're saying. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Olave is actually a back end of round 2 pick, and I love his value there. I also wouldn't be surprised if Trey McBride is in here at that 110. We're looking at overall ADP, just the way that the world works, seeing Trey McBride up in this top 12. I mean, I'm assuming is this PPR, full PPR. Yeah. I mean, Trey probably figures in there for a lot of people. And I have a hard time taking a wide receiver at 1-1. It's just something I have.
Puka's
he went Puka.
I went Puka.
I'm gonna be a big Bijan guy if I at 1-1.
Yeah, I can make the argument for Bijan because I was saying
my 1-1.
Bijan would be my 1-1 that we had,
unless Arthur Smith ends up the OC of the Lions, and I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh boy, yeah.
Scott, it was a pleasure to have you joining us today. One of the stars of Ginny in Georgia, which was one of the 10 most watched shows in the world in 2025. So congrats to you. That is awesome. One of the stars of Friday Night Lights. Anything else that you want to plug while you're here?
No, man, I have to say thank you to anybody out there who's watching Ginny and Georgia. I know the crossover is from NFL Fantasy to Ginny and Georgia, but
I've started watching it with my wife because she's getting me into it.
10.1 billion minutes watched. When you get into a single billion, double-digit billions is mind-blowing to me. Top 5 on the year. I think we might fall out after, the Stranger Things ratings finally get posted, but still top 6 on the year. Really, really cool. But no, man, I'm so excited that you guys have me back.
You're welcome whenever you want, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, we got the
You're an LA
combine.
guy. You could just come on, hang out in the studio with us.
My hit rate was pretty good this year.
Let's do it again, man. Definitely.
So next year we'll sit down and we'll talk about it in August.
I feel like you're a big NFL draft guy.
Oh, yes, 100%.
We have to have Scott come back before the draft.
We got to have the fantasy combine. I mean, I'm the fastest fantasy
we're going to be doing a fantasy
man,
combine if you want to get in on it with us.
Yeah.
He doesn't want this speed. So
Hey,
here's
man.
the thing, man. I ran a 4.53 when I was back in high school and college.
He ran a 40 a month ago.
Oh, I know. I saw it. We talked about it.
I was going to ask you what time you think he ran.
No, I saw it.
Sky has a speed coach. I don't have a speed coach, man.
No, I don't. I don't have a speed coach. I said I'm going to have to get one.
But you have to get one.
If we're going to do something and it's going to be, if the event is going to be televised, you better make sure. Look, an actor's life is nothing but preparation, trying to figure out what is needed for the role. We're doing a combine. Yeah, you better as hell know I'm gonna go find myself a coach.
Hey, this March, come on through. We will try to run and do 3 cones and whatever else. But thank you so much, as always, for joining us. That is gonna do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. As Marcus always says, stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do good and leave well. We'll talk more next week.
Go Broncos.